Awesome. So, welcome to our second sales call of May. As we cruise through here, we're going to really focus on knowing your worth and how to charge it. So, this video is going to be live on our YouTube channel for everyone to kind of learn and see about the value of our services as clinicians. And we're going to dive right in. Today's going to be very interactive.
Awesome. Here we go.
Awesome. So the big question is always like, how much should I give for free, right? So in general, we like to give things for free because we are giving people and we are here to help the community. But sometimes the value that free places on our services isn't always what we want. So we're going to kind of dive right into what that means. So essentially, like free versus paid. So Mary, I'm gonna put you on the spot if that's okay. But what have you done with services or products, if you can think of something specific that you've received for free?
A product or service I've received for free.
Yeah, think about like even like if you've been, out and about and someone's like, "Hey, here's a free CD or here's a free lotion or here's this." Like,
Yeah.
how do you I'm
Uh,
just,
yeah,
yep.
the lotion thing that triggers the very very firm, almost harassing. Here, take a sample. In the middle of the mall.
Mhm.
In the middle of the mall, in the middle of like the street, because you're
Mhm.
kind of like off the sidewalk now, trying to avoid them.
Right.
Um,
So what did you do with that lotion, Mary?
I stuck it in my purse and forgot about it.
Right. So there wasn't like a lot of value. What did you feel? I feel like your scenario was a little more pushy than what we're going for, but in terms of like that lotion specifically, we'll take the scenario out of it because it's a little bit different than how we want to approach our patients and potential clients. But how like that lotion, like was there any sentimental value attached to it? Did you care about it?
No, I mean, that was something that was more like forced on you, and it's like, mm, I'm good. You don't really get much explanation. It's just suddenly in your face.
Hmm.
It's like, here, this lotion will make you look so much younger.
Hmm.
Okay.
So even though they were trying to sell you on the value there, you didn't have to pay for it and you weren't really like sold, if you will. So
Hmm.
that ties in perfectly to what we're going to go over today. So essentially, when we provide free services for individuals, a lot of times it's like, oh, cool, like there's not a lot of value and they're not necessarily bought in or, understanding the value of what we can provide as clinicians. So now conversely, Mary, I'm going to go back to you just because we kind of want to see the 180 on this. So, what is something that you have really felt that you have paid for that was worth the money? And, what value did that thing, it can be an item or a service, what did that bring to you?
Um, let's see. Well, uh, I will probably use so I see it wasn't this last Christmas, it was the one before that. Um I guess there was sales going on and I forgot that I put this eye massager in my cart and paid for it until it was like, oh, hey, all right. Uh, Um, but I mean, it has worked wonders for all my patients. Well, not every one of them, but majority of them that are coming in, they're like, "Oh my God, my head just it hurts." I'm like, "Hey,
Mhm.
you know what? Let's get you some heat. Let's make you comfortable. Let's try
Mhm.
this out. Just let you relax." And they either fall asleep or 15 minutes later, it's like begging, like, "Can I do another cycle?" It's just feels so good. And um, so something simple that I just kind of accidentally tacked on
Mhm.
helped just kind of give me that little bit of edge as like, see, it's not so terrible. It's not the physical torture that everybody thinks.
Right.
Um, and so it was able to certainly and make my patients much more relaxed, much more like, okay, I'm good for whatever. So,
Awesome. So that kind of stemmed a little bit larger than you. So not only did it bring value to you because you can utilize it, but it brought value
Hmm.
to you in terms of the mechanisms and kind of modality services that you can provide for treatment. And then, elicit buy-in, even if you're putting them through the pain and torture, right? The PT. From an exercise standpoint, that's something that can elicit value from like they're bought in and enjoy it. So that's very interesting situation, but it's cool that it stems, beyond you versus just, something specific. So, Kelly, let me ask you, what is something that you have paid for, and that you've really felt value or worth based on that, monetary exchange that occurred?
Yeah, I mean, I've made significant investments this year in marketing, hiring a marketing coach. And you pay per month and then you have a year. And so it's like, I know what I'm paying for it. So you better believe I am messaging her every day. I am checking my ads. Is this right? Is it I'm doing all the modules? And I feel such a sense of urgency because I know I've got 1 year and I want to learn absolutely everything I can from her in 1 year. And so that was like the first time I've really invested money in like any kind of training like that. So it's been really interesting. It's been really good too.
That's great. And I'm sure like there's emotional ties too from that purchase, right? Like getting excited when someone like wants to pursue like your marketing tactics or your ads or, they
Yeah.
book a service based on that, like the return on investment emotionally for you, like since you paid for that, like there's even a greater tie. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're like, oh, I made an investment. Yes, it hurt at first. You have to have
Hmm.
a, pretty high pain threshold to pay for marketing. But I'm seeing the return on it. And then also I get to see what my schedule looks like now, which is like literally fully, but like I can't have a single extra person this week. And if we can translate that to all of our other providers, like how exciting is that, you know?
Right. And like, if you would have done a similar thing where it's free, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there probably wouldn't have been like, I need to do this today
Right.
because I'm
No,
paying for
because
it.
yeah, it's those
Like,
things like are important, but not urgent.
love
And so
it.
you
Love it.
just don't, go
Yeah.
do it.
It's just like, yeah, it was free. Kind of back to Mary's lotion standpoint. I'm not gonna really do anything with it. It's just gonna sit in my purse.
Mhm.
Awesome. So we'll continue to kind of cruise through. So big things too is like breaking it up. I think there's a lot of gray area in terms of what we should charge for and what we should discount. Should we discount at all? And that kind of thing. So I think like big things I want to kind of delve into are free PT services for friends and family. That is a big common point throughout, our network, whether it be in concierge specifically or just physical therapy as a whole, right? That weekend at the cabin, everyone wants you to look at their pain, whether it be back, knee, etc. But I think, with that comes the mentality, like Kelly said, like they're gonna be happy, right, initially that they have this like free thing because they received it. But then after, it's just like, oh, whatever. What did she say about what I should be doing? Should I be doing the treadmill? Should I be doing?
Mhm.
So I think like tying that into kind of that more green area where there isn't the gray is instead offering like a VIP discount for friends and family. Not only a great marketing resource, but then you elicit that buy-in. They're paying for something that now has a value to it, and they're more than likely going to continue to listen a little bit more actively. But then also when you're, done providing service, they're going to still continue because they've now invested, so they don't want to waste that money or time. And then conversely, it's easy to be like, oh, yeah, well, I'll give you a free home program after I perform a free injury screen. That home program is going to be right next to Mary's lotion in the purse, and it's probably not going to get completed. Versus, like, hey, like, this is what I think is going on with your injury. Let me offer you a discounted home program or just a paid one that's a little more abbreviated for that VIP after that. And now you got them bought in a little bit. And that's where we want to kind of, bridge the gap between what we're giving for free versus paid. Because as we've already kind of concluded throughout these multiple scenarios we've gone over, when something has that monetary value attached, there's a sense of urgency. Kelly, your timeline's a year and there's still a sense of urgency,
Yeah. I'm like, how
versus
many
like,
months do I have left? Yeah.
yeah, right. Versus like someone who's like, I want to be able to go run a 5K with my kid and my knee pain is keeping me away from that. And maybe that's in like a month and a half, right? So if you can get them bought in, and really delve into more of a VIP or discounted service versus the free, they're going to see better results and you're going to feel more rewarded as a clinician.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where we break it down in terms of the paid versus the free, right? So, family, I mean, I'm sure you guys have multiple scenarios in terms of free family PT. I can give a handful of my own, but it's kind of like that expectation. Like they are the PT in the family, they're going to help me. They're going to, give me, free services or do the cupping or do the dry needling at the family events. And then your Christmas or what have you becomes more of a, work event than it does a familial, celebration, if you will. So I think the free versus paid, there's a lot more engagement when there's that monetary tie and that exchange. There is a specific scenario that I recently kind of thought through and heard via podcast of finding $100 bill versus losing one, right? The finding is great. It was free. You got it. You're $100 richer. But when you lose $100 bill, there's a lot more sentimental attachment to that. And there's a lot more of an emotional response. So same goes here when we're, I don't want to say losing money in this scenario because you're investing in your health and long-term gain, but when there is that exchange of you paying for something, you're going to be more involved and remember it versus like just obtaining it for free. And then same goes for the HEP, right? Like if they're not paying for it, they're probably not going to be doing it. And then the fact is that is, it's too much work, right? Physical therapy is too much work. I don't want to do it. Versus like if someone's paying for that home program, whether it be a VIP rate or just normal, they're invested, they're ready to roll, and they were already tuned in the session that you said 4 times a week, and they have that in their head that they're going to do that and maybe more. Like Kelly, checking every day, right? They want to get better faster because now they have a monetary tie to that where the value is a lot higher.
I've also heard, when you give with the exchange of money, you become the professional. Without you're just a peer or a family member, and when they
Right.
exchange money for services, then you become the professional. And no one wants a free doctor. Like
Mm-mm. You're
that
their
doesn't
friend
make me feel
with them.
good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Okay, so let's just kind of go into, obviously I have some specifics here, but what are we giving away for free? Kelly, are you giving anything specifically away for free at this
Um,
point?
I think the only thing I will occasionally for some of the volleyball coaches do cupping.
Mhm.
Um, for free because it's really fast.
Mhm.
And I will do not injury screens for free, but I'll do and I have it on our menu of services as an option on Jane. And I think I called it an injury call. Like and
Okay,
it's a telehealth visit and it's 15 minutes.
love
Um,
it.
yeah, just to see if they're a good fit for our services.
Okay, so what have you seen in terms of like return on investment? So the volleyball coaches, right? Like they're obviously sending their players to you, because I know,
Yeah.
but from them specifically, with said injury from cupping, obviously they have some pain points. Have you seen any like carryover or, interest in terms of like, are they like digging for more in that cupping session or,
Oh
how has
yeah.
that kind of evolved?
Yeah, yeah. There's no guardrails. Like I heard it said once that like fences make good neighbors, you know what I mean? Like there's no fence because it's already switched to that expectation, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like a tricky way to balance it. However, if the expectation is me doing some cupping with the exchange of 5 or 6 new patients a week, I'm okay with that.
Right,
You do have to
right.
just like really carefully navigate that relationship. And then with the free injury clause, I have not necessarily just the telehealth call, but like just phone calls where I'm spending at least 15 minutes. Hey, tell me about your injury. Like, would this be something that would work for you? That kind of thing.
And I think those are really good too, because even though they're free, you're providing a little snippet, a little nugget of knowledge where they trust you, like because you're investing this time into them versus like doing a full-blown eval for free and then, they just expect like everything else from there on out is going to be discounted. So I think that's a great scenario. Mary, do you give anything currently for free from a physical therapy standpoint?
Um, no, well, I mean, certainly not work-wise, but yeah, I'm certainly always giving some free advice. Um, of course, one of the things that I do every now and then, which I suppose free, but um, anytime I come across someone who their assistive device is like the cane, the little lock is, jingling at the bottom,
Hmm.
um, or or their walker is just way off or something like that. If I
Yeah.
kind of look and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if you're safe with that. I kind of step in and then it's like, yeah, I'm a physical therapist, and yeah, I like to make sure people are safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
could just hand them that card after that. Can I
mhm,
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
walk you
that's
through?
what I was gonna say.
Here's my card.
yep.
Hmm.
So
No, that's
yeah,
great.
it has. I did that for a gentleman just the other week. He walked past me on the street. Once I fixed that, he had no idea that's what is. I didn't know what that was for. So I explained it. Man, he was a talker. Lovely mid 70s gentleman with just cute stories, bubbly, and just yeah. If he could have just come to my house for something
Hmm.
or some PT, he would have been. He's like, oh, I love that. He's like, I just want to stay active. I'm going to do as much as I can.
Right. So how would you spin that, Mary? Like Kelly said, hand the business card. What like specific questions could you ask to escalate that into like an ROI or return on investment standpoint in terms of you gave your little free service, you helped, with the assistive device and ensure that that gentleman was safe to return to home with his cane. Now, if you wanted to continue the conversation, which you said he was long-winded and you would love to have treated him, how would that have looked from a, next step standpoint in getting buy-in to your services specifically versus just this little free cane adjustment?
So with him, certainly uh, being able to like just say, hey, what are you what are you looking to do? 'Cause he loves to get around. So it's like I can help you kind of improve that, get a little stronger, or, let's get you being able to, run out for a few hours and not feel so tired. I can come by, see you. Let's see if we can make our way over to music store because, or bookstore because he was asking about those, or a diner.
Hmm.
Did want to know about diners. And like, okay, let's, work on doing something like that. And uh, I think he would have been certainly more, he probably would have been uplifted and just had the biggest smile on his face and
Hmm.
said yes right away, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And that's where I think we fall short sometimes. And that's why we're having this conversation today, because we're so, patient centric, right? Like, I want to help you. Like, I've done that. Like, I witnessed this lady that like couldn't get up a curb and I'm like helping her, right? Like, that's a balance issue at that point in time. Like Kelly had said, I could have given my business card, but I was kind of like you, Mary, where I, said my piece in terms of helping her at that point, but then there was nothing. So it's like we have these exchanges, but how can we turn them into kind of, a physical therapy appointment or a referral? And I think that's the biggest thing is like the free is sometimes forgotten. Now, if we can kind of get them booked and get that next step, that buy-in, that's where it's going to elicit better results and they're going to get better too. So I love that. Like you said, learning a little bit about them and then tying it. So yes, I would love to help you be able to walk to the bookstore. Did you know after just one session, I think we'd have your balance better and you'd have more stamina and endurance to be able to do that. And we could actually practice that. So I think that's great. I think other things too is, that free and then the follow-up, right? So like if you book them for a VIP cupping or dry needling, that is a, discounted service, what's the next step to get them, bought in? Well, like Kelly had said, the coaches are already bought in because it feels good. They want to keep doing it. Now the players are seeing them have those marks, and that's getting referrals from that standpoint. But what else could we do? So could we, if we give that free cupping, could we get them on the books and follow up with them in 2 weeks and say, hey, it's been 2 weeks since your last cupping. How are you feeling? Or did you have solid pain relief? Is anything creeping back up? Could we get you booked for another a la carte service if they're not ready for a full-blown eval? Or, if you did a specific like injury screen at that point in time, could you get them booked for that, initial evaluation and just give your 2 cents on terms of what you think is going on, like Kelly does in her little telehealth consult calls, because I think that's just a great way to get the next step. We're so good at the first, but we need to be better getting over that hump and getting them kind of bought into the value. And that's where the monetary exchange comes in. We just got to get it booked.
Yeah.
All right, so some role play. So specifically, what should you kind of follow up with after completing a free injury screen for a frozen shoulder, and how would you obtain buy-in in that session? So you just performed a free injury screen. Now what? Either of you can kind of chime in, and there's answers on the next slide, but I kind of want to see what you guys have to say with these.
I mean, I think it's a good way to show them objective measures. I had a telehealth patient earlier this week, and she was like, our body accommodates things. So unless you single it out and truly look at the injury and the joint involved, sometimes it's just one joint, hers happened to be her ankle, and she thought she was doing so well. She knew she needed something. She had an old fracture, but she thought she was really getting well around the house well. And then when you break that down and show her the strength of that foot and ankle and show her that balance, she was just like, oh, okay. So I think, just showing them the numbers, like letting it speak for
Right.
itself. So in this situation, like, hey, do you see how your flexion is 90 degrees on the left, but it's 170 on the right? And it used to be the same, so showing them that,
Yeah,
just the need for you is what that shows.
I agree. And like with
Certainly
that,
explaining, like this is what I see going on. Like, do you know how this is supposed to get better? Or, certainly explaining it's like, well, I see this going on. And we can definitely do a little this and a little that. And I think, we'll get that arm, we'll get that shoulder back into play. Or like, are you sure accommodating is sufficient for you?
Right.
Is it gonna make you happy?
right.
Or are you just gonna be angry at that shoulder for not doing its job?
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like the accommodations become like, I'm just gonna tilt my head and brush my hair like this. And you're like, okay, is that quality of life really what you want, Or like reaching back to help the kids or things like that. So I think like you guys said it best, but like really highlighting, what you found and using that to kind of dovetail into that, eval. Like, okay, this is what we found. Let's get you booked for an eval. And these are the times. And
Right.
that's really what we focus on is like getting that next step is key. So conversely, we'll change the situation of a free cupping to VIP. So someone comes in, they've done a VIP cupping, okay, they do that. Now, how are you going to get them bought in to that service if they thought they kind of wanted it for free? So they're coming in, they kind of want a cupping for free. So let's use you, Kelly, to be a great example. So you do the coaches for free currently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's transition. Say you go into another facility just for point of conversation and you're going to do VIP cupping, but someone comes to you and they once had it for free, but now you have to sell them on the point of this is a VIP discounted rate. What are some like, verbiage terms, things that you would use to elicit buy-in so you're not just like explaining the service away?
This may be wrong, but the first thing I think of is to say, well, it's regularly an $80 service, and
Mm-hmm.
I would love to give you a discount on it, but I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for.
No, it's good. So I think like the outcome is what I'm going for, but that's also good because
Gotcha.
they already have this
Okay.
number in their
But
head.
how much better did you feel last time after I
Yeah.
did it?
Or
And
like,
how can you put a
yeah.
value?
And they're gonna be like, yeah, immediate pain relief. Like my XYZ body region felt great. So
Yeah.
like, do you want immediate pain relief again? Because it's normally $80 and now I'm charging you 50. Yeah,
Wow. I like
I
that.
love that.
Okay. Okay.
No, you did it perfect. There's no like perfect answer or specific trajectory on how to get there. I think just selling the value of the feeling so that they're that emotional ties there. And now they're like, oh yeah, after, Kelly had cut me last time. I didn't have any pain. Why this
Yeah.
no brainer? Yeah, here, take my card, like, and then they're bought into that point. And then I think the biggest one that we've really honed in on, as a Jan 1 is selling packages and getting an eval booked after that free injury screen. So I think with this one, it's easy to get the eval rolling, right? So like Kelly had said, using those objective measures from that injury screen to get the eval. Now, how do we sell, a package to a patellofemoral pain patient? First of all, normally physical therapy does not have discounts. You can't go into a normal clinic and be like, hey, I want a discount on my next visit. That just doesn't happen. So I think going back to your point, Kelly, of like normally 80, now it's 50, just for point of conversation, selling that discount really does get that, trajectory rolling in terms of, oh yeah, like if I go in a normal clinic, it's going to cost this. And then the buy-in is there. But it kind of sells itself after that initial eval because telling them, after just one visit, you're going to have some pain relief, they're sold. They're ready to go. And then that's just icing on the cake because normally they don't get a discount on, medical services, no matter if it's a primary or physical therapy specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can you discount my copay?
Yeah, right. Can you take it
And
down
it
from
gets
60
you
to
in
20?
faster. It's like, well, do you want to wait 3 weeks to go to that clinic and see somebody, or uh, hey, maybe let's book an appointment and we can see what maybe there's something that you're doing, a way you're moving, something that you're doing that we can fix that's causing this, and we can work it out or so. And that, I think,
100%. No, that's great, Mary. Thank you. I think that's great because that kind of tells them like, hey, okay, maybe I should get this ball rolling now versus just like, nah, I'm fine. This is the new normal, right?
Mhm.
So kind of big things, just playing off of that last slide and going into the answers that we were kind of going towards is, you know, forecasting their pain. Like after one visit, you could have pain relief. So whether it's a VIP service like cupping, like they have less pain when they walk out today, they're already bought in, right? So getting that like buy-in, that immediate time, right? Whether it be, just a mini little injury screen or a VIP service, buy-in is essential because if you're just giving something for free and continuing to do that, they're not going to see the value in that. Stemming back to the beginning. And then with cupping, that immediate pain relief. So that's what I was trying to get to, Kelly, is like, you had immediate pain relief last time. Like now you can get it with a discounted rate too and continue to have immediate pain relief after just one session. And then the big thing with kind of getting that free injury screen to eval, sometimes it can seem like a big hump. Everyone's like, oh, should I discount the eval? No, like we just gave that free injury screen. We provided them with a little bit of a nugget of knowledge of what we, our intuition is in terms of what's going on. Now let's get you booked for an eval. Like, do you want to live a pain-free life? Do you guys want to live a pain-free life?
Yes.
Right. The
Get those micro
micro,
yes.
yeah, the head nods, right? And then, okay, so like Kelly always says, and we both go back and forth on this, so it's better than sending them 10 times. Okay, I got a 9 a.m. on Monday or a 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Which one works for you? We are a doctoring profession. If you go to the doctor's office, they're not going to say, I've got Tuesday at 10, this. No, they're going to give you 2 times, pick one. If not, move to the next week. So keeping it succinct and short. And then obviously, like going back to the packages, do you want to get back to living a pain-free life kind of after that eval and continuing on the trajectory to get better at a discounted rate? Who's going to say no to that, right? Because like we said before, there are no discounts in normal healthcare. So that's really where we can use it to our advantage to get even further buy-in beyond that evaluation. Cool. So what questions do you guys have for me?
I had one. Now I got to come back to it.
Sorry. It's always to get the role play going
I
and
was
then
just
the bigger.
thinking through like, yeah, those packages, because those packages really have been like such a big profit boost for so many of us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Just
think like go ahead.
just that buy-in of that patient because they know they have it, so they better use it, and they're going to do the exercises because of it. Yeah.
So kind of like my answer to that, Kelly, and this is what I was gonna say, is like I have a patient specifically who I eval did a follow-up, and she's like, I haven't done my exercises. I think I should just cancel my next session. She's not someone who purchased a package because she's seeing in-network PT in tandem with me, so it's kind of more of a supplement. And she's
Mm-hmm.
not like fully bought in. So conversely, someone who buys a package, there's no cancellations. They're in because
Yeah.
monetary exchange has already happened and they're bought into that next session and ready to roll versus someone who's like, I haven't done my exercises. So like it's a continual selling point. in a continual exchange of, getting them to understand the value versus just like, oh, I saw them for a follow-up, I'm going to keep seeing them. Not always, right? Like people fall off the bandwagon. We got to keep that continuation of whether it's check-ins, making sure they're doing their moves, and those are great too. I didn't say that, but that's something for free that I do. Is I will send, check-in texts or emails to patients just to make sure they're on track. And that really makes them feel heard. Or, if it's someone who's discharged, maybe they need like a maintenance session for an a la carte service. So again, little mini snippets for free, but again, those aren't going to elicit the true value. So how can we get over that next hump to get them bought in? I think is the biggest takeaway from today's conversation. So thank you guys so much for role playing and, being involved. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shania. That was great.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
see.
me certainly thinking